functions of the Nigerian Ports Authority is to develop, own, and operate seaports in harbour. It is also the responsibility of NPA to provide safe and navigable channels for vessels, adequate pilotage and marine services, as well as carry out maintenance work on port facilities. On this episode of The Axis, our special focus is on NPA's port infrastructural development aimed at improving operational efficiency at the nation's seaports. We shall also bring you the core activities of the Marine and Operations Directorate of the Nigerian Ports Authority. Welcome to The Axis, where we examine the ports as the axis of the Nigerian economy. I am Tola Aladi. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Now to our special report on NPA's port infrastructural development. The deteriorated port facilities at the Port Harcourt port as a result of many years of neglect were not left out in the rehabilitation effort of the NPA. The Nigerian Ports Authority and the terminal operators at the Port Harcourt port collaborated to rehabilitate the dilapidated quay apron and roads within the port. The improved facilities have yielded a greater operational efficiency in cargo handling and delivery. The activities of the private jetties around the port have also contributed to the economic growth of the state.
We have two terminal operators in Port Harcourt, and they have a contractual obligation between them and the Nigerian Ports Authority, albeit the federal government. And I'm aware that one of the imperatives is that they should strive, to redevelop the facility that they took over from Nigerian Ports Authority. That's the federal government. And as we speak, I'm aware too that one of the terminal operators has started work along that particular line. There are 4 berths, in fact there are 2 terminal operators, the Port Terminal Operators Nigeria Limited and the Boa Ports and Terminal. I'm aware that the Ports and Terminal Operators Nigeria Limited has done some extensive job on 3 of the berths that they took over. Then the other terminal operator is also, in the throes of bringing about some development.
It is pertinent to state that Port Harcourt port is the only port in the country with wholly indigenous terminal operators with no affiliation to any major shipping company. So port concession, I would want to say here, have made with considerable success. Ships and cargo traffic doubled, and better quality of service has been recorded as well. There has been reduced turnaround time for vessels, reduced cargo dwell time, safety and security of persons, ships and cargo, and environmental protection.
The development that has taken place within the period we commenced to now is phenomenal. The community never envisaged, they never anticipated it, they never thought it was going to be there. There's a lot of things that is happening within the area. A lot of people have gotten jobs. We have applied efficiency, we have applied effectiveness, we have applied professionalism, and we have all that is needed. We even have our own talk. But NPA on their own have been very wonderful people. They are able to give us their pilots to do the job. Even when it seems impossible, they've always been there for us as partners.
To further improve on facilities in Rivers State, the federal government approved the development of Phase 4 on a port project. The project was awarded to Messrs Intels Nigeria Limited. It is expected that the project will attract huge foreign investment to Nigeria, as well as create about 20,000 job opportunities for Nigerians. The construction of the Onne Port Complex began in the early 1980s as one of government's strategies to decongest the Lagos and Port Harcourt ports. The port is also designated as a hub port for oil and gas in the region. Since the Onne oil and gas free zone was officially commissioned in March 1997, it has grown in leaps and bounds. More than 30 international oil and gas companies are registered as free zone users, even as cargo throughput is increased tremendously.
The growth in activities and support gave rise to the need for extra capacity, resulting in the development of the Onne Port complex, which has been facilitating and aiding offshore exploration, production, and exportation of crude oil. It was as a result of this expansion here in a similar environment, among other reasons, that government embarked on the port reform program in order to modernize Nigerian ports and attain global best practice.
However, due to MPA's inability to meet the advertised draft levels for ships and the demand for port patronage by larger draft vessels, the MPA entered into a joint venture agreement with the Lagos Channel Management for dredging and maintenance of the Lagos Navigation Channel. The Lagos Channel has already been dredged up to 13 meters, and the depth of the channel has made it possible for the patronage of bigger draft vessels such as the Maersk Line, Wafmax vessels, which carry up to 4,500 containers.
The capacity of the ship is the largest ship, as we've heard already in the presentation, to enter the port of Apapa. She's 4,500 TEU, which is 20 equivalent units, which is the standard box size of a container. The ship itself came in at the deepest draft ever that a ship has come into Apapa. She is capable of going down to 13.5 meters at fully loaded condition, but she was 12 meters draft when she came in. I say that was the deepest ever that a ship has ever arrived in Apapa. She's 250 meters long and 37 meters wide, and that again makes her the largest ship in Apapa at the moment.
The Bonny Channel Management Company BCC was also contracted to dredge the Bonny Pilotage District. The channel has been dredged from the shallow depth of 9 to 10 meters to 12.5 meters. As MPA continued to carry out its core responsibility of ensuring safe navigation to local and foreign vessels, the authority also embarked on the removal of critical wrecks from the channel of the Lagos Pilotage District. The removal of the 24 critical wrecks, which posed threat to navigation, was handled by the Lagos Channel Management. To further complement the already existing ports in Nigeria, the Nigerian Ports Authority proposed a 25-year deep seaport plan. The master plan is to develop greenfield seaports and terminals, as well as further expand port infrastructure that would support the enormous inflow of cargoes into the country. Already, the construction of the Lekki Deep Seaport has commenced, while the proposed Ibaka Deep Seaport has come to reality following the handover of the certificate of occupancy for the 5,129 hectares of land by the Akwa Ibom State Government to the MPA on behalf of the federal government.
We are looking at Lekki, we are looking at Badagry, we are looking at Akwa Ibom. These are three major places that the federal government is looking at, and we are already the Akwa Ibom State Government is working.
The focus of the management is to develop deep seaports that can attract vessels of draft of up to 14 meters and above, with lower dredging maintenance costs as part of the strategic vision of the Nigerian Port Authority to be the leading port in Africa.
When completed, the Lekki Deep Seaport, which will have a draft of 17 to 18 meters, will attract ocean-going vessels of about 70,000 TEUs. The project, which is expected to be completed within the next 4 years, is in line with the federal government's public-private partnership basis for a concession of 45 years. It's nice to have you back on the program. The Marine and Operations Directorate of the MPA oversees all marine and piloted activities at the port. The various departments under the Directorate work with a common goal of providing efficient port services to vessels that patronize the nation's seaports. The Axis takes a look at the core functions of the Marine and Operations Directorate of the MPA. The level of productivity at any port depends on its efficiency and effectiveness of operations at the port. Nigerian seaports handles about 50% of the total inward and outward cargo traffic in the Western Central African sub-regions. In view of this, the Nigerian Ports Authority, which operates 8 ports in the country, ensure that the nation's seaports are accessible, safe and cost-effective. Prior to the concession era, MPA's role involved the provision of cargo handling equipment, provision of security as well as marine and pilotage services. But with the concession era in place, MPA's role has been limited to the landlord function and the provision of marine and pilotage services. The directorate that oversees the activities at MPA is the Marine and Operations Directorate. They carry out the core port business at MPA. The various departments under the Directorate work together to provide quality service to port users. The departments include the harbour, traffic and pilotage, amongst others. The Executive Director, Marine and Operations, Engineer David Omanibeke, who takes charge of the Directorate, throws more light on the activities carried out by the Directorate with a view to enhancing productivity and operational efficiency.
We have the harbour masters. The harbour masters are the first contact to any vessel that is coming. They are the ones by the Nigerian Ports Authority is empowered to communicate with any ship that is coming. So the harbours department plays that very important role. And we also have the traffic. The traffic is headed by an assistant general manager who is responsible for what we have ship entry notes. For a ship to come, they must apply for ship entry notes. So once they apply, they have their manifest submitted. So through the manifest, you know the type of cargo, the goods that is coming. And then the approval is given. So already, that means we're already aware of the vessel that is coming, maybe in 2-3 weeks' time. So the harbours will now make preparations to see how they can accommodate them to come at the right time. We also have the pilots that have to go on board the vessel to navigate the vessel to the berth. You know, these are very highly skilled personnel that must understand the channel, because they are the ones to tell the captain how to navigate through our channel to the berth.
One of the responsibilities of MPA is to provide safe navigable channels to vessels that patronize its ports. This is achieved through the maintenance and capital dredging of the channels. The Executive Director, Marine and Operations, said as a result of the consistent maintenance dredging of the channels, MPA has achieved a draft level of 13.5 meters at the Lagos ports. This development, he noted, has brought about the patronage of bigger vessels at the Lagos ports.
What the Port Authority also did that is really a tremendous thing that is assisting vessels coming into our country is the establishment of what we have, the Lagos Channel Management, where Nigerian Ports Authority is a JV, owns 60%, and we also have the Bonny Channel Management in the east. They are responsible for the capital and the maintenance dredging of our channels. In Lagos, we have achieved up to 13.5. Although some of the berths are not up to that, but bigger ships are coming in now that requires up to 12.5 drafts to come in. Then why in Rivers Port, I think at Onne area is about 11.5. So the Escravos is around 6.2 thereabout, but with the Ogidigbe gas to liquid project coming on and other things, I think the government will also fast track the process of setting up a channel management in that area to maintain, and then the breakwaters. So all this will improve navigation of vessels into our conventional ports.
The provision of adequate security at the waterfront is also the responsibility of the Nigerian Ports Authority. The Executive Director, Marine and Operations, explains further.
We have boats that the Marine Police are patrolling, but I would say it's not adequate. And you know, we have a procurement process to acquire more, even for the Navy we are doing. We've acquired some for the Navy as well. NIMASA is patrolling as well with the Navy, and we are still looking at having other short measures, maybe to get higher to support the Marine Police so that we can have adequate patrol within the waterfront to reduce minor theft.
In order to provide efficient pilotage service to vessels that call at the nation's seaports, the Nigerian Ports Authority has put in place measures to enhance human capacity development. The training and retraining of pilots in the Marine Department is an indication that NPE is working in tandem with international standards of engaging highly skilled personnel in port operations.
We've looked at the system. We've seen that most of the well-trained ones we have, some of them have retired. They are on contract with us. And we have some newly recruited. And it takes maybe up to 7 years to train somebody to be a certified pilot. So we're working on that. Training is continuing. We send most times our pilots to schools overseas for simulation. So I think this year we're making provision in our budget to also have a simulation school here that we can, from time to time, the pilots will go for the simulations. And we have the pilotage boards in all the ports, which helps in terms of promotion, interview to upgrade them.
The Executive Director, Marine and Operations, also spoke on some major achievements of the Nigerian Ports Authority.
One of the main achievements this present executive management has achieved is we've started what is called the e-payment for the shippers. All these years, all this while, it's always, if you make your payment in ONE, before the information gets to head office gives go-ahead for the port manager to give clearance. It might take some 2 days. With this e-payment with Interswitch, which started some few days ago, within 3 minutes, 4 minutes, that transaction is concluded. You see, so it will really save a lot of costs. We just launched it, and we are also working on the e-manifest. I mentioned the ship entry note. We're trying to see how we can work on that and work with the customs system. A shipping agent can just send all their information electronically, and we deal with it.
Welcome back. We now bring you other stories in the maritime sector. The chairman, Planning Committee of the Nigerian Maritime Expo, Barrister Margaret Onyema Orakwesi, has called on both local and foreign investors to participate actively in the 4th edition of NIMAREX, tagged 100 Years of Maritime Development in Nigeria. The chairman, who made the call while addressing journalists on the international conference and exhibition currently going on at the Eko Hotels in Lagos, said that NIMAREX was born of a genuine desire to showcase Nigeria's enormous maritime potential to the world. She also stated that NIMAREX, which is an annual event, serves as the ideal forum for showcasing an assemblage of maritime products, new technologies and services. She noted that NIMAREX has been able to develop human capacity, which has contributed to the growth of the Nigerian economy.
We're celebrating 100 years of maritime industry. It's like taking an inventory, knowing where we are, knowing where we started, knowing where we are going tomorrow. So it's stock taking and encouraging people to come and invest. There are so many areas that we don't have local investors participating. So, and we're trying to also grow partnerships between the locals and the foreigners.
We will bring you the details of the event in our subsequent episodes of the program. At his inauguration, President Goodluck Jonathan promised the citizens of Nigeria that he would initiate a revolution in the maritime industry in order to make it more business-friendly and conducive for legitimate trade by domestic and foreign investors. This promise was in line with his administration's transformation agenda. The transformation plan for the maritime sector, unveiled by the president upon his resumption of duty, was to satisfy the yearnings and aspirations of a great number of stakeholders who were of opinion that the gains of the concession program should be sustained and consolidated. Maritime stakeholders maintained that a combination of political will and proper policy formulation will pave the way for further development in the maritime sector and, by extension, further the realization of the hub port status for Nigeria in the West and Central African subregions. It was in the light of all these that the president made reformations in the port sector a top priority. Several policies that prepared the ground for general port reforms followed as the federal government braced itself to make a change. To drive these reforms, the federal government inaugurated a presidential reform committee headed by the coordinating Minister of the Economy and the Minister of Finance, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. The mandates given to the committee included streamlining the number of agencies at the port from 14 to 7, simplifying multiplicity of forms to align with agencies, creating immediate holding bays for empty containers, disbanding Nigerian Customs Service Task Force, and establishing a 24-hour operation at the port. In carrying out the directives of the President, the Minister of Finance formally pronounced the pruning of agencies allowed to operate at the port from 14 to 7. The agencies that were permitted to continue to stay at the port were the Nigerian Ports Authority (NPA), Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency (NIMASA), Nigeria Customs Service (NCS), Port Health, Nigeria Police, Nigeria Immigration Service, and the State Security Service (SSS).
It's time for our ports to start working. And they must start working for honest and hard-working Nigerians, not for those who are trying to make things more complicated, make money out of the ports, and make life more difficult for the honest business person, man or woman in this country.
The pruning of the number of agencies at the port was lauded by a great number of maritime stakeholders who believed that the new state of affairs will guarantee an end to bureaucratic bottlenecks, which, according to them, was one of the attendant problems of the old order. A few years after, the question that is being asked is, has the pruning of agencies at the port delivered what was projected, namely, better port operations? There have been indications that suggest that another kind of challenge is being experienced by users of the ports. The issue in focus is what a number of maritime stakeholders have termed clash of duties and functions at the port among the 7 agencies. It is expected that each agency at the port carries out its day-to-day duties at the port within the confines of a formal document that gives it legitimacy. It also follows that the formal document will spell out the distinct and clear-cut roles of each agency, thereby eliminating a situation where agencies encroach on each other's functions, or the scenario whereby certain services are not rendered due to a lack of understanding among agencies as to whose responsibility it is to carry out certain duties. If clarifications to such issues are not sought and answers to questions are not solicited, the whole purpose behind the pruning of agencies at the port will be defeated. This is why speaking to key officials in the agencies becomes quite important. In our subsequent episodes, we shall bring you interviews with key officials of the government agencies at the port as they enlighten the public on their duties and obligations. The Association of Nigerian Licensed Customs Agents, ANILCA, has issued a 21-day ultimatum to the Shipping Association of Nigeria, SAN, to stop the collection of shipping line agency charges. The president of ANILCA, Prince Shitu Olayiwola, who made it known at a meeting held at the association's national secretariat, said that the association will withdraw the services of its members from the seaports if the shipping lines continue to impose the legal charges on them. Prince Shitu said despite the fact that ANILCA has made several complaints to the Shipping Association to stop the collection of the shipping line agency charges, the association still went ahead to increase the charges. He noted that the increase in the shipping line agency charges has added to the costs of doing business at the seaports.
The Controller General of Customs, Abdullahi Diko Indi, has shown Nigerians that his many pronouncements about sanitizing the Nigeria Customs Service are not mere rhetoric. The Controller General proved this when he arrested a number of customs officers who were sabotaging the clearance of goods at the Tinkan Island Ports Complex, Lagos recently. The Controller General of Customs arrested a Deputy Controller and other officers for obstructing the smooth running of the cargo clearance process, which is the Pre-Arrival Assessment Report (PAR). This move has shown a renewed hope to maritime stakeholders that the customs boss is indeed committed to a new Nigeria customs service known for trade facilitation.
It's now time to bring you the shipping position. 16 vessels arrived at the Lagos Port Complex. One came with bulk salt, one with bulk wheat, one with bulk urea, 2 arrived with frozen fish, and 1 with general cargo. 1 arrived with bulk gypsum, 1 came in ballast, 1 with containers, 2 with palm olein, and 4 arrived with various petroleum products. A total of 66 vessels are expected for this week. 6 to arrive with general cargo, 1 with frozen fish, 7 with bags of rice, 2 with vehicles, 1 with base oil, 5 with buckwheat, 1 with cocoa beans, 1 with bulk sugar, 3 with steel products, 19 with containers, 6 with bulk rice, 1 with crude palm oil, 1 with soda ash, 6 with various petroleum products, while 3 vessels are awaiting customs clearance. That's the shipping position for this week. This is where we draw the curtain on today's episode of the program. You can send your questions, comments and suggestions to the axis2014@yahoo.com. You can also watch the program on our YouTube channel, www.youtube.com/theaxis. Until we come your way again next week for another interesting episode of the program, it's bye for now.